so by no means am I a welder. And next step is to weld these plates on here. Drilled the holes. Use my little $70 bench top Harbor Freight drill press. So I was worried about welding this about 1/4 inch thick plate to this thin. This is actually a little thinner than what I'd be welding, but I figured this would be a good scrap piece to practice on. I was actually quite impressed with myself. This was definitely where I needed to be right here, but decent penetration. Was more worried about burning through. That one wasn't as great, but that definitely was a pretty good one. For a welder here, I got this little Everlast, what is this? The Cyclone 200. So welding that thin stuff to the thick, I was running at the 16 gauge setting, which is 16.8 volts and 185 wire feed. And that worked out pretty good for me. Yeah, my fear was just burning through this and then just making everything Swiss cheese, but it seems to go well. So now that I got everything cleaned, looks like I'll be clamping some stuff and trying to weld those brackets in. Hopefully it goes as well as this. Alright, so as you can see, I got the plate clamped in there at the moment. I got my 3 plug weld holes. I decided not to do one up here. I think there's enough contact area up here. It's a little misseiving here. Let me get to the other side. So there is quite a bit of overhang, and my goal is for that to weld on both sides, cut it out, but I wanted there to be enough around where I can always cut it out later. I'm gonna try and tack it in a few spots, get rid of the clamp, and then I can run little sections of beads and not heat up the frame of the car too much since it's pretty thin. I'll try and mount my phone for the welding process. If anyone watching that is a welder, I'm sure you're gonna cringe and say I'm doing a million things wrong, and I pretty much guarantee that I am. Alright, well the camera shut off while I was trying to weld that. It's probably a good thing. As you can see, it wasn't, I start on the thick metal and I was trying to run it into the thin. Tried it in a couple different spots. It didn't work. I'm gonna get this a little cleaner, grind off the weld. It's here. And then I realized I had it clamped down at the bottom, and there was a pretty significant gap here because I had it clamped down here. So I'm gonna try and clamp it up here a little more and get the metal a little closer. And obviously too, welding up, I'm gonna have a little bit more difficulty trying to hit than welding, nice and flat on a table. So I'm gonna clean things up again, try it again, and bump the voltage up a little bit, and let's see what happens. Alright, got it all clamped back in there, added a magnet for this side. Off camera, I hit both ends of the bracket. It was a little high on each side, making the gap there in the lower part of that radius a little big. So I tried to close that up some. I got it clamped at the top, be tighter to the other piece. And then I also added, which I don't know why I didn't do it before. You can probably see I added a chamfer. That'll just help penetration and everything. Should have done that from the get-go. Not sure why I didn't. Alright, now that it's tacked in, I had to put the puppy inside after I finished the tacks. I could see her out of the corner of my eye running towards me. I wasn't going to try and weld with her around. So let's try and get a few beads done. So this one's going to be the learning curve. It really doesn't want to stick to that top metal of the car. I assume just because it's vertical, but I'll try and turn up the voltage a little more. Actually, I think I'd accidentally left the voltage the same. So let's try it now with a little higher. Helps to have the ground on. It is the next day after work. Unfortunately, while I was working, I didn't notice that my phone had fallen. So what you see there is all I got of the video before this. But I will fully admit, things did not go well. Plug welds went fine. That one wasn't great, but need to kind of finish grinding them flat. I had to pick up some new grinding discs because the other one was all loaded up with, I don't remember what, but welding upside down is a learning curve. Figured out I was running too cold. I was also about halfway through, plugged the nozzle up with splatter. So a couple of those were lack of gas, and just kind of welding upside down, I wasn't getting a very good pattern when I quite just not being able to see. So I'll admit, none of those welds are good or not great. I have gotten some decent penetration on the backside, I can see in there, but my ego definitely took a hit, especially after I did the test piece and it went so well. But being upside down definitely changed things. So I'm cutting them out and redoing them. Alright, first one's all welded in. Welds are definitely not anything I really want to show you guys, but let's see if I can get this to focus. You can see in there, at least the first plug weld, I got decent penetration there. Got some good penetration up top. And then running on this back side, I got decent penetration. You can see the heat marks. I found out, because I was terrified of burning through, that I was running much too cold. So as you can see here, I kind of booger welded it and just overlaid and overlaid until I got what I needed. So back here, I actually added a little plate in between. It's right in here. You can't really tell with the welds, but essentially just a little spacer plate, because I think the frame kind of bows outward a little bit. So then I got the second one in. Did the 3 plug welds. I'll end up grinding those flush like I did over here. And then I still quite haven't figured out how to weld upside down, so I'm probably going to mess with those welds a little more. But I'll take this piece here to show. It laying down here. The gap on this side is much larger. So, I mean, that's, I don't know, I think it's like 1/4 inch thick. So I kind of tried to beat this and everything. Couldn't get it to bend anything. I mean, it's 1/4 inch, so wasn't really expecting it. I don't really have anything to clamp onto on the back side to pull it in. And I don't really have anything that I can run to the other side and expand to bend it in. I think my only option, what I have, is possibly do something and rig something up with my floor jack, which isn't out of the question, but I figured out settings a little bit more on my welder here. Let's see if I can get this to focus. I was having some issues. Obviously you can see down at the end things are splattering pretty bad, and it actually got to the point. So that's kind of what it's supposed to look like, the hole there. But it ended up filling, them welding upside down, and all the pieces are falling into the nozzle and burning a bigger hole through it. So luckily when I bought my welder, I had replacement parts and everything, so that was nice. Yeah, so I don't know if you can tell just from, nothing about that plate is straight. It actually goes like this, and then so the first piece I weld to this, ooh, it's still a little warm. When I come to the second piece, I don't know, I want everything square when I come up and down, or come up and over and do the back here. I don't want it all janky, which I know I'm also welding to another surface that isn't square. But just for the sake of mounting things, I'd at least like the top piece that's then let's see, let me zoom out here. The top piece that runs across, I'd like to at least get that square and parallel with the other side, so when I run the piece across and where I'm mounting my suspension, that's square. I guess I don't really care about the piece here or the angled piece up, so I can kind of float those and make things flush. It just won't be a perfect, the two pieces of tubing won't perfectly meet up, and I guess I can always obviously just blend that in with welds. None of it looks good. I know it'll hold. Yeah, now that I kind of got some voltage and feeds down, and everything I'll be running now will be the 1/8 inch tubing. Now after looking at this, maybe this is 3/16 plate, not 1/4 inch. But things are thicker. I can definitely run a little more heat. I'm not as afraid to burn through. A little more forgiving. I'll still have to I still have to prep these sides. So probably before I go any further with the front side, I'll probably prep the back half. And get that ready. So I have two good surfaces to connect to. And then if I actually get some weekends or weeknights like tonight to work on this, some things should start coming together pretty quick. Give you reference, I think I started this one probably over a month ago, and then really haven't been working on it. It's been starting to get warm here, springtime, so I've started doing yard work. Yeah, it'd be nice in the next month or so maybe to get the front and back of the frame there connected, And then I can slide the axle in and start kind of working on that.